Alrighty, how's it going, everybody? So we just got the English release of all the cards in From Nightmares. I've been waiting for the actual English copies. Definitely been like already brewing and try to figure out what cards I really like. But I figured I would just start going in set order. If you're watching this on YouTube later, hi, subscribe, all that good stuff. But it's probably be split up into a couple videos there, just to kind of make it not like a 3-hour long video. But let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we got our new cycle of summons. We got 3 CP Ifrit. This is a whole cycle of summons. The idea is that they're overcosted for what they are, but if you're willing to give up the summon speed of them and cast them only on your turn after you play a forward, they become free. In Ifrit's case, it's 1 forward, deal at 7,000. I think immediately the first thing that comes to mind is Megissa, a card that I almost kind of wish would be banned, because I just feel like you can't design fire cards without Megissa anymore. Like, it's just, she is the most omnipresent thing in fire right now. She's like the only good thing in fire, so like, if you ban her, like, you just would ruin fire. But I feel like maybe you could print better fire cards if Megissa's not around. I think just for that, it'll see play. I mean, 3 CP 7k is really not a lot, but I mean, a free 7k ping, you know, basically you get to staple this onto any forward. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Samurai from Rebellion's Call, where it's like you could pay 2 extra to shoot for 8k. This kind of just staples that to anything, and you can also make it instant speed if you want to. It's good. It'll see some play. Just not really sure where other than Megissa. We have the first legend. So this set, every element gets exactly 1 legend. This is fires. It is Ace. When Ace enters the field, if you don't remove 5 fire cards from your break zone, Ace immediately dies. I'm guessing that restriction is there mostly to try to keep him out of Bart's Boko, especially because it specifies that it has to be fire. When Ace attacks, you do 10k to a forward, so he hits like a truck. He's also 9k. He's got a special where he can be brave, double attacking, and would shoot for 10k at each attack. It's really good. It's a little slow, but I mean, for 1 CP, I mean, what more do you really need? I guess the downside is that there's a lot that's really competing for break zone these days. In fire, you could be playing something like Salamander and removing 10 cards, and this would slow that down. I do like the idea that you could go like Twin-Headed Dragon and kind of self-mill to get this online quicker. Same for like, you go Tidus into Ace. Like, what's your opponent going to do? You're going to mill 5 fire cards with Tidus, ping something off, play Ace. Now you've got a hasty forward and another one that's going to kill. I mean, 10k kills literally anything in the game. So I think it's good. I just don't know that it does anything that fire doesn't already do, which I think causes problems. Also, I think my timer's running against splits. It's really funny. But yeah, I think it's a cool card. Definitely worthy of the legend status. If you pull this in a pre-release, I think you just win. I don't know what beats a 1 CP 9k that pops something every time it attacks. So Edgar, 2 CP backup. Job King. King is very relevant. This is every time I see like a fire water deck, and I see people throw like the common Edgar from a couple sets ago in, I always kind of just like wonder, like, is that really the best use for it? So I mean, anything that does that is fine. It's got an action ability, 3 CP, essentially play a Sabin of cost 4, but it's kind of awkward because like the normal Sabin you play right now is the Amano Sabin and the Giga Chad, and that card doesn't pair with this at all. You really need the forward Edgar to turn that Edgar on, or that Sabin online. The set comes with a Sabin, but like the package is just too cute. What I really do like actually is auto crossbow is really good. And it's not that hard to kind of load up on Edgars, and it's a 2 CP backup, so actually hating on this thing is going to be really hard. And like, if you're a fire deck that like, I don't know if there is a fire setup deck, but if there is, this could just be a way of just paying 2 CP, or I guess 3 CP when you factor in that, and just continuously handling aggression. You could ping your own Megissa if you wanted to again. Like, there's just so few restrictions, and 3 CP, 5k to 3 forwards. Like, against really aggressive decks, that's kind of like a board wipe. So, I think in the C's play, it's because of the auto crossbow and not because of the action ability, until we get a better Sabin for it. Kuki Chibuki, very cute trio of cards this set. I remember seeing this was spoiled independently a long time ago before we realized this was like a little mini archetype. And I remember reading, this is the worst rare I've ever read. People were like, when Palom was first spoiled, people kind of didn't really know what to make of it because we didn't see Porum until the actual full set came out. I think Kuki Chibuki reminds me a lot of Palom, except he never levels up. Very similar power curve, except he's also more expensive. Jaw Black Mage, but you're never playing this in a Black Mage deck. If this card didn't have the Wind Fire Hero, this would be a card that would be bad and limited, but probably see play there. As is, I think it's the worst of the trio, probably. So, we'll get to that when we get to the actually good card. Saz. Saz is a 2 CP common. When he enters the field, search for a dash and add it to your hand. I'm not gonna lie, I think this card is cracked. For a common, this is a 2 CP category 13 fire forward that searches a category 13 backup on entry. It needs literally nothing more. That deck is not hurting for a Saz. The one that I'm playing is the EX Burst that searches a summon. This is just another way of increasing those nut draws that get you to the turn 2 lightning, draw 2, point of damage turn. And he's so cheap, like he's literally free. And the dash is actually really good too. There's a new one in this set that I think you would play with it. Tifa, Warp 3, 5, Brave, double attacker. It'll be fine and limited, maybe, but it's not a card you're excited to play. So, just not like this will ever really see super serious play, probably. Here's the dash. So when it enters the field, discard a card and draw a card. Notably that you do have to discard the card to get the draw. You can't, like, EX this on an empty hand and just draw a card. The card says gains 1000 power and first strike, both of which are actually pretty relevant, just given how big Lightning and Mog 13-2 can make your forwards. And if you have Dash, Saz, and Fang, then Fang is buffing your whole field. I believe. I think it's 3 forwards. I don't know if, or 3 characters. I don't know if it includes yourself or not. So Saz then becomes a 2 CP 8k first strike, which in a deck that aggressive is crazy. Actually, it's free because he searches another copy of Dash. And because Dash is an EX burst, you're even okay playing multiples of them in your deck. I think this package, for a pair of commons, is ludicrously good. Like, I'm genuinely scared of these cards. Also of note, this does discard for cost, not for effect, or for effect, not for cost. So you can, I think, yeah, this should discard for effect, not for cost. So this will proc like your Black Mages. If you want to do like a 4k ping off of this, we can go like Dash, discard a Waltz, ping a Megissa. I know there's just nothing else good to do in Fire right now. I think Fire is the element that needs the most help right now. Really not in a good place. Too many things just kind of invalidate it outside of the the only reason to play it is Amaterasu right now, in my opinion. Buffasaur, 2 CP monster, really cool card. If your opponent plays a forward, you can sack the Buffasaur to do 8k and take a point of damage. So they're kind of pushing self-damage as like a new fire thing. Especially fire and lightning cards get this. I really like this. You can really trade up in value. 2 CP 8k is well above rate. I think 2 CP 7k with the point of damage and a backup in the process. But like, generally you're going to kill any 4k your opponent plays, and since it's not mandatory, like you get to kind of choose when it happens. They can't like proc this preemptively. It's good. Anything that like doesn't die to Amaterasu, or dies to Amaterasu, but you don't want to Amaterasu. This is a really cheap, efficient way of taking them out, and it kind of can sit there and just annoy your opponent until it does. Bomb. So this is the other monster. There's 2 monsters in every set or every color this set. So if you control 3 or more fire backups, it's also a forward with 5,000 power. And when it's put from the field to the break zone, you do 2k. So this is kind of like the monsters like the Typhon's a part of. You know, 3 backups becomes a forward. When it enters the field, you can duel 2 active fire backups, and you can search for a second bomb and play it onto the field. Put a little quieter. I think that's good. I mean, swarming these things is not going to be bad. The only thing about it is that, like, it's kind of like it's paying it from deck. They're playing the forward from the card from deck, so it's like you pay 4 CP to get 2 blank 5Ks onto the field. I don't think 2K is all that relevant. You can't hide this very easily. Like, once it's on the field, it's a 5K forward if it's a forward. There's no like conditional activation, so you can't do the blue worm thing and just conga line these in at the end of a game very easily. I don't think it's going to see any real competitive play unless there's a bomb that I'm not thinking of. I guess there's the one that does 5k on entry and like does the one-time activation and then break at the end of the turn. Like, that's fine, but I don't think you're not gonna like have a bomb tribal or anything like that. Here's the Sabin that's supposed to pair with the Edgar. If you control 4 or more, it's reduced by 2. And then the problem is you have to control the 4 before you play the Sabin. This is the kind of thing that like you like seeing that more on like an entry effect. It's not impossible. Like, you have like what? There's like the Shadow, the Interceptor, Banana Sid. Like, you can get the backups. New Terra I think is really good. Edgar, like, I just don't really feel like that's worth it. And then when he enters the field, choose up to the same number of forwards as the category 6 characters. Just put in the field in the break zone. Deal them 8,000. This reminds me a lot of the Zondi from last set that I've never seen actually function. It's not worth sacrificing your own characters. And there's even a bit of a nombo because you want like forwards, category 6 backups, but like if you're sacrificing forwards to get this effect off, you're like willingly running them into your opponent's stuff to die to play the Sabin, at which point just like play any other removal spell and you're gonna do better. This like effect just has to be crazy, and it's not. Like, 8k is not nearly good enough for this. So I don't really like it in the slightest. Miyu. Miyu, 4 CP, really simple. When she enters the field, search for an Agito Cadet, add it to your hand. So this is interesting because I think this opens the possibility of something kind of new. So we've had the Kalia Cheval for a long time, which is this effect on a lightning backup. And Kalia Cheval can search Miyu, who can now search another Agito Cadet. So that means that Kalia Cheval now filters down into 3 backups. The last one can be either lightning, fire. The fire one would have basically no text, or an ice backup. You could actually run a 3-color lightning, fire, ice deck really easily. And I think that it's totally rational to go pitch, Kalia Cheval, search Miyu, pitch, play Miyu, search the ice backup, pitch, play the ice backup. You have 3 backups down on turn 1. Every card in your deck is now live. You'd have no cards in hand, but everything for the rest of the game is essentially color fixed and able to be played. I think there's some merit to that, especially given some of the new archetypes in this set. I kind of wish she cost 3. Or like there was a Agito Cadet in, especially Earth, I think would be a really nice one. A Water Agito Cadet would be nice too. There's just no good fire backups for water fire, so I'd love to see like a Water Agito Cadet. But as it is, I think the ability to play one lightning backup and get 2 lightning backups and a fire backup is probably more than enough to have her see some play. If nothing else, you could have like a mono lightning deck that's like splashing in a fire cards to play Amaterasu. Which also with Man in Black is crazy too. So yeah. Monk, very interesting that we see this in fire, not in earth. It's part of a new cycle where it's a standard unit backup that costs 2 that has a tap and break effect and a damage 3 effect that kind of gives you like a weak summon on entry. Monk's not a particularly special one. Kind of going back to like a really old fire trope of like buffing forwards as they attack. Thankfully this one isn't until the end of the attack like something like Lava Spider is, but I actually really like all of these backups for the most part. I think the damage 3 is pretty achievable, especially in being a fire self-damage thing, and Juicy P do 7k to something is quite good. But this isn't my favorite of the cycle, admittedly. It is interesting that it's named Monk. Anytime you see more monks, you kind of start thinking, because Ursula is a card that I think has actually aged better and better over time. But yeah. Lilty, another part cycle. This one is a bunch of 4-cost standard unit forwards with a basic effect and an effect if you pay with 3 elements to do something bonus. First of all, Lilties don't use hammers, they use spears. Thank you, Echoes of Time, for apparently ruining the lore. 4 CP Brave, 8k. That's nothing special. 4 CP do 8k to something on entry is not really anything you'd go out of your way to work towards. Like I guess it's like technically okay, but not for the difficulty of getting this off. It'll be really good in draft and limited, especially like small like side tangent. There's a weird effect in the multi-element sets where you can't really go 2 elements in draft or in especially sealed. Like 9 packs, you can't do it. There's not enough cards you're gonna get from those 2 colors. So I do think that these will be very live in sealed games, in pre-release especially, and anything that is removable in pre-release for this stupid cost is definitely going to see some play there and be effective. So it's good for that. It's not too much else to say. Lunith, when it enters the field, do 5k to all the forwards opponent controls. It's fine. It's kind of like a weak board wipe, but I feel like if you wanted this, you'd probably just play Salamander rather than have a 4 CP backup that doesn't do enough. The Warrior of Light is interesting. There's definitely some like synergy with that. I guess if this breaks a couple of like 2 CP 5Ks, maybe like a Laswell and a Charlotte or something, it could be good, but I think it's just a little too specific to really see a lot of play. Even though I do think that Warrior of Light backups are really at a premium right now. Ruby Weapon. So if Ruby Weapon is dealt damage, it becomes 1000 instead, and then when it blocks, you dull Ruby Weapon. It's got a special. Choose a forward, remove it from the game. If your opponent has 2 or more. Kind of does the Ruby Weapon thing. I showed this to a friend, they went, wow, they really captured the essence of Ruby Weapon. Except they forgot to make the card good. I do think, like, in Limited, this thing will be obnoxious as hell to get around, because, like, you can't swing into it and not do it. I've thought about, like maybe there's a world where, like, you could, like, play this in a setup deck and just slam it down, and your opponent now can't, like, say they're playing category 13, and they've got to, like, crash something in to die before they actually can get attacks off. And then, like, the special is, like, that's a really good special. Like, if you could just, like, if there's ever a Ruby Weapon backup, you can get, like, this plus, like, a Roble. So you can get that special every turn. But, yeah, I don't really see this seeing any serious play outside of Limited. Which kind of sucks. I think the thematic and the way this card works is really cool. But it's definitely a little too easily played around. And for, like, the 6-drop thing is really what kills it. I kind of wish just all the weapons just, like, I don't know. There are ways they could have made, like maybe you make it like an 8 that's reduced by 1 for every point of damage you've taken. I think would have been really cool. I think that would have been like thematic with what the weapons are in the lore. Maybe a 7 drop that gets reduced by 1 for every damage you've taken. Where it's like the closer you are to being in danger, the more likely they are to come out. I think it would be like a really cool thematic for like a weapon archetype. Or like the more weapons that are dead, like maybe like, oh, we're recognizing that there's a problem, so the more of them in your break zone, the cheaper they get, which is the case for one of them. But as a standalone card, this is just not good. Will win pre-releases and limiteds though. Laragorn. So Dream Stooge is the job they named for these. So when this enters the field, you play another forward onto the field for free, and that is about all you really need to know. So remember when I was talking about like you can go now lightning into fire into ice very easily on backups? This is the archetype that I was thinking of, and you kind of end up in a situation where your opponent has to kill this card, but if they do kill this card, there's another one that makes them discard, and there's another one that recurs them from the break zone, and you can kind of just continuously spam these, and I could just see these being really obnoxious cards, because I don't know if it's rational to just clear all of them at any given point. Being able to tap 3 or play 3 and then tap this guy to bring another one back out is really good as well. I don't know if it's quite constructed playable, but you could also like run this with the waltzes. Just slam all 3 of the waltzes and a VV in there and see what happens. Could be decent. Yeah, I think they're interesting. I'm looking forward to getting a playset of each of them, and then need to pick up some Kalia Chevals, actually, now that I think about it, if I want to mess with these. But yeah, more Mono 6 art. Never will complain about that. Leon. If you have 4 more rebels, it gains 4,000 power and haste. When it enters the field, you can search a Maria. It's a couple decent Marias. None of them really in fire. She's generally a wind card. There's the Light Maria from last or 2 sets ago. I think it'd be interesting. I don't see the 4K and haste ever really being a thing. And clearly this isn't meant to be like, oh, if you assemble all of the category 2s, but yeah, I mean it's fine. The art's great, but I just don't see this being a super competitive card. And unfortunately, in like sealed / pre-release, this is a dead rare. There are not 4 rebels in the set, and there's no Maria in the set, so this card is literally a 3 CP 5 guy. Don't play it.